Good evening and welcome to the 54th episode of the Huddy Hui. We've actually got a rather special episode tonight. This one is of vital importance because a game of rugby can actually happen without a particular individual. They're also be known as the 31st man. And at the moment, not only just in Wellington, but around the country, there's a big, massive shortage of rugby referees. And so tonight we welcome the Wellington Rugby Referees Association. That is my old stomping ground before I started to fall apart and got onto the world of commentary and broadcasting. But tonight we welcome the president of the Wellington Rugby Referees Association, Mark Fairmaid, alongside Premier Referee Ben Van Berkel and second-year referee Craig Williams, and also Malcolm Gibbs, who's a well-known name in Wellington circles. Good evening, men, and welcome to the Hui.
Evening, Bradley. Good to have us. Thank you very much.
Of course, Mark, we'll start off with you. You this year have become the president of the Wellington Rugby Referees Association. Your background in refereeing, not only as a referee, but as a volunteer, has been around the traps for many a decade. Tell us about becoming the president and what your main objective is.
Well, I don't know about many a decade. I don't think I'm that old, Brad, but yeah, I was heavily involved with junior rugby, of course, and so I've been involved with refereeing for over 30 years now. The presidency is sort of a 6-year thing for referees. You'd spend 2 years vice president, and then 2 years president, and 2 years past president. And I just thought that, refereeing is becoming less attractive. So I need to make sure that I change that theory that what people think about refereeing. And someone said to me actually a while ago that the refereeing shortage is a referee's problem, which, I don't entirely agree with that, but it was an interesting statement to me. So, and it's a bit of like running a business. And where do you get your business from? You start by looking within your own customer base. And so the big thing for me is around referee retention. So I've been working hard this year and making sure that referees feel thanked and feel wanted, and we communicate to them properly and let them know what's going on. And of course, the second part about if you retain referees, we need to try and build it and recruit referees. So one of the things I've been trying to do is recruit referees through the clubs and through my contacts in rugby. And one of the things I've always thought is that we need people a bit like Ben Van Berkel, to be honest, who's played the game, played a lot of senior rugby, played the game at a reasonable level, understands the game, and at the end of his career, he decides that he wants to be involved in rugby himself, so takes up refereeing. So someone in the age of the 30+ bracket, we can quickly turn into a pretty good, solid referee who can potentially referee Colts or under 85s on a Saturday afternoon. So that's really my target audience. Is I'm looking for guys who wake up on a Sunday morning, their body might feel a bit sore, and they want to thinking about giving the game away, thinking about maybe coaching or managing or something. Well, refereeing is another way to be closely involved in the game, and you can see every tackle, see every ruck, see every scrum, see every line out, and the beauty of it is you get toward all the tries. So, there's some things that we can do to help accommodate that for you and help you get involved in the game.
And you mentioned Ben Van Berkel. My next question is to you, Ben. Of course, Mark mentioned that you're a former player. It's not that often that we see a prop become a referee. Tell us about your rugby background.
Yeah, thanks, Brad. I played about 80-odd games for Western Suburbs Premiers. But to be honest, I just kind of fell out of love with playing the game in 2013, and it led me to taking up the whistle the following year. Ex-professional referee Gary Wise is a family friend. So I spoke to him, and he pointed me in the direction of the Wellington Refs, and it was actually Mark that answered a Facebook query that I put in. Been there ever since, basically. I remember my first game was a President's game back in 2014 and out at Lyndhurst Park, and as is often the way with the President's game, I was the only one whose opinion didn't matter on the field. But as I say, really enjoy it, and kind of there's a clear pathway there where you can progress from, you normally start off in your lower grade college, your under 55s, and you move your way up into the senior rugby, into the Premier ranks where I've been for a couple of years now. And as I say, I've just really enjoyed it, and it's good to wake up on a Sunday and the body hasn't taken a beating, so I can move.
Well, of course, props are well known for being the most well-educated rugby players on the field. You being a former prop yourself, now referee, how do you communicate to the props in the front row?
Yeah, arguably having that front row experience means I can get my scrum pictures never completely spot on, but having that education of 25 odd years in the front row definitely helps with my pictures there. And I tell them what I'm expecting them to do. And I know from that past experience around all the dirty tricks that the props and hookers try to get up to. So I know exactly what to look for if they're doing it as well.
Malcolm Gibbs, you are a life member of the Pōneke Rugby Club. Your involvement in junior rugby at Pōneke has simply been amazing. How was it that you got involved in refereeing in Wellington?
Yeah, so I slightly less typical pathway into refereeing. So I don't have any rugby playing background, but my 3 kids have all gone through Pōneke Junior Rugby. So, I've been associated with that for well over 10 years and, coaching and administering. And I just found that I quite enjoyed the time out in the middle reffing those junior games. As back there, you would be an associate ref, I think it was. And once my kids went to college, some played at college, got a daughter still playing at East. But I found that, the only way I'm actually going to get to ref a game now is actually pull a jersey on. And that's where I've started it. And it's my 3rd season. Yeah, and I'm loving it.
And what levels do you referee up to, Malcolm?
So I'm a recently promoted level 3 ref. So now starting to explore, some Premier 2 and 3 college. I'm yet to get my first under 85 appointment, so I'm looking forward to that one. Hopefully it'll be a nice, easy one, Mark. I had the privilege of doing the women's Div 2 final on Saturday, which was, a real good buzzy experience.
The women's Div 2 final, Malcolm, a real busy experience, but a high-scoring game. And at the start of the season, Wainui struggled to nearly get a team on the field, but they nearly upset the Sheepwolves. And what's the difference between you refereeing a male's game compared to a female's game? Do you find that the female players are more energetic and have a lot more passion?
They're equally dedicated and passionate about what they're doing on the field. Potentially, equally as much chat, maybe more polite from the ladies. But everything they do is with a smile on. That's, start the game with a smile, finish the game with a smile. Heaps of family around, and it's classic community rugby. So it's really enjoyable just to be part of that experience.
Craig McWilliams, you're a second-year referee, and in the weekend you AR'd your first Premier game. Unfortunately, it was a cricket score, 106-7 Norths over Wellington. Tell us about how you signed up to the Referees Association last year, what got you involved, and you have a connection with a pencil. Tell us about that story.
Yeah, so I'd been a lifetime sideline referee, the easiest job out there. So need to give a shout out to the North Coast Rugby Club from initially up in North Harbour. So shout out to North Coast. Been supporting them since I was 6 months old. Moved down to Wellington. Didn't really find a club, so haven't really found a club to support. So I thought, why not dip my toes into refereeing? Sent an email out to the generic email address and got a reply from David Walsh in about an hour saying, come along next Monday to the Petone Men's Working Club, and went along on that Monday night, was refereeing a game in 3 weeks' time, Hibs under 55 versus Wellington Cole under 55. Just really enjoyed it. Getting involved in that Premier game on the weekend, although it was raining and, as you say, the score was a bit of a blowout, it was still really, really good to get that opportunity, particularly as a second-year ref. The association with a pencil. So my partner, her dad is Colin Pencil Sullivan, who played 39, I believe, matches for the Wellington Lions in the 90s and maybe into the 2000s. Obviously, the laws have changed a bit since he was playing, so it's always a good debate on a Saturday night when we're up there and watching some rugby. And he'll say back in the day that wouldn't have been a penalty, but I just need to try and convince him that it was.
Well, Mark Fairmaid, we just mentioning about the refereeing and linking in with rugby clubs. How is it? The association is sort of classified as a rugby club. How does the structure of the association work?
So we actually fall in under the Wellington Rugby Union, and we are not a club as such, but our members do pay a small subscription to belong to our association, which helps to cover some administration costs and a few other things. And for all of that, you get supplied with a full kit, whistle, shirt, top, shorts, socks, tracksuit pants, and bags. So you get all that given to you when you come along and after you've completed 3 games on the paddock. And then we have a new referees manager, which runs every Monday night, refereing 101, I like to call it. So we teach you how to blow the whistle, how to be in some basic positions, some basic laws, how to prepare yourself for your upcoming fixture, and a little bit about dealing with difficult players and difficult people as well. So it's all those sort of basic stuff. We have some interesting presenters and sometimes some visiting coaches. We also use guys like Ben, Jamie Fairmaid and Jack Sargentino have a big involvement in that new referees group as well, and helping to present and teach them refereeing 101. It's important that referees do get a basic understanding of how to referee a game of rugby, because it's not as easy as everyone might think it is, as you know, Brad. So, The interesting thing I'd just like to highlight here, Brad, around the other three, Craig, Ben, and Malcolm, is they come from a very different entryway into rugby, and like Ben's a typical player, played a lot of rugby, and as he mentioned, fell out of love with the game a bit. Malcolm, heavily involved in junior rugby, has never actually played the game, but refereed some junior rugby and decided he wanted to stay involved. And Craig, I'll call a rugby orphan, where he has come down from Auckland and didn't associate with any club here, but decided to get involved by refereeing. So, you don't have to be a player as such to get involved. We have quite a few referees that actually haven't played the game, or only played the game at a low level, college level, for argument's sake. And I think about 3 of our premier referees have never played the game to any great heights, to be honest. So just because you haven't played the game doesn't mean to say you can't become involved.
Well, I made the graduation to becoming an amphibian. I used to just be associated with water sports for a very long time. I did try and play rugby, but I was no good. I was just shoved on the wing. But I started refereeing back in 2007. And Mark, you were the first year coach back then.
Yep.
And it's a great opportunity. And there are many pathways and opportunities in rugby refereeing. And it's probably a question for all of you. What opportunities have you found, Malcolm, Mark, Craig, and Ben, since your time being part of the association? And we'll kick off with Malcolm.
What sort of opportunities?
Yep.
I think refereeing opens up a whole lot of personal development opportunities. You're given a responsibility to run quite a physical contest between some very large athletes. That's stepping up and doing that responsibility. Players are emotional, passionate in the game. So that game management aspect of refereeing, I think, has strengthened my sort of personal development and being the cool, calm head in those sort of situations, or trying to be at least. Those sort of personal development opportunities at reffing are quite important.
We
Well
we
done,
have
Ben.
we have quite a lot of young people coming, from college and that, and I've seen it. My own son Jamie, who's refereed, and he started refereeing at the age of 13, and I've seen how it has actually developed him as a person and made him a better man manager. And Malcolm, he touched on it there. Even you ladies, how it helps you to develop as a manager, and because you have to, I'm going to be honest, you have to manage some difficult situations at times, and the tools we equip you with help you to, manage stuff in your day-to-day life. So, like last night, I saw another instance where we have a young new referee, and he's only 12, who comes along to all our meetings, and I was talking to his father today, and he said that he's really starting to come out of his shell and learn how to talk to people and handle people. And I think you saw that in young Bradley on Sunday at your tournament, didn't you, Malcolm?
Yeah. For those, Brad, it's great seeing such a young person, out there taking control of, and showing some quite decent leadership at that age. It's awesome.
Ben's
I'll
got some
jump in.
interesting.
For me, it's also just a great chance to network as well. You meet a whole range of people who you wouldn't interact with normally as a player or just a spectator. And in Wellington, we've got about 100, give or take, in the association. Probably not quite that many, but you can interact with them for us, it's a weekly, fortnightly meetings out at the Petone Working Men's Club, and you also get to meet some of the international referees. We'll have the odd social evening where I remember going along and listening to Wayne Barnes talk about the 2007 quarterfinal, for example, or Angus Gardner, and talking about his experiences as a professional referee. And in Wellington, we've been lucky enough to have the likes of Ben O'Keefe and Mike Fraser come along and share their insights as well.
Ben's touched on a little bit. Ben's actually been lucky enough to go to Japan and referee. And we used to have quite a lot of opportunities for what we call interchange, but for various reasons, and COVID being one of them, it's has stifled those opportunities a wee bit. But we are redeveloping them. One of the things I'm trying to do is get a more consistent relationship with our near neighbours in the Horowhenua and Warrapa Bush, and we can send referees to them every 2 or 3 weeks, and it gives our guys an opportunity to referee and see something different and referee a different sort of game of rugby as well, and helps their development. And one of the other great things I say about refereeing is that you can throw your whistle and your boots and your bag when you travel anywhere in the world and just about be guaranteed a match. We've got guys who are a part of the armed forces in some of the places that they've refereed, and they've refereed like Anzac tests between Australia and New Zealand troops in war zones. So it's incredibly interesting. We've got guys who currently in the UK, for argument's sake, past members, or I'd like to think they're still current members, but over there doing the ROE and refereeing in those parts of the world as well. So it presents a whole heap of opportunities like that.
And you mentioned about opportunities such as helping out in the Warrapa Bush and Horowhenua. Refereeing shortage is massive at the moment. Alistair Payne, who I commentate his game, Warrapa College and Silverstream on Saturday, did that game, and then he had to travel over to Gladstone to do his 159th Premier match in the Warrapa. Mark, you've been involved in the appointments. Is this the most difficult period for the Referees Association in terms of appointing on a Saturday?
Yes, most definitely. And it's just not on a Saturday, Brad. It's, midweek. And I just tell you a classic example. An hour ago, I was looking for a referee to referee what is one of Wellington, college sports, or Wellington most classic trophies, the Beard Trophy. And there's a Beard Trophy on between Pyra and Beard tomorrow night, and it's only half an hour ago that I managed to secure a referee for that fixture.
Oh, wow.
Right. So, and that to me is a little bit disappointing, I suppose. I want to be really harsh about it. The fact that we struggle to find referees for fixtures of those standards. There's interesting enough, I did some stats for speech I gave at Paniki Old Timers Day back in May, and 5 years ago, we were able to cover cover the 93 fixtures, and there were 2 divisions of under 85 rugby, and 4 women's games, two divisions of Colts that particular day, first 15 rugby, and even the transit first 15 competition was on in Wellington that day as well. So, and I fast forward to 5 years, exactly 5 years, one day later, and we had 77 fixtures to cover in Wellington, and we were only able to cover 65 of them.
Mm.
So, that represents about a 20% drop in refereeing numbers. And the thing that I say to people was that one of the things I would like to do is get to a point where I say I've got a base of 180 referees to call upon. We're currently, I think David Walsh, the REO, said to me on Monday night that currently our registrations are standing about 100, but that includes people like myself who only referee once or twice a year when I have to, and Jared Clark, who, past president, who also only referees when we're desperate and need him to fill a spot somewhere. But if we could get about 180 people, and if 40 of those only refereed 1 week out of 3, then it wouldn't be an issue to cover all those games. So, and that's the other thing is that, you can come along and referee and pick and choose. And as I said to the gathering at Parramatta Plymouth Rugby Club the other night, if your daughter plays netball in the morning, you can choose to referee in the afternoon. If you play Masters football in the afternoon, you can choose to referee in the morning. We can accommodate that sort of stuff for you. And if you only want to referee in the Hutt Valley, I had a guy who was a new referee last year, along with Craig, and he hadn't come back refereeing this year because of a change in personal circumstances, change of job, change of bought a new house, had a new baby, and he rang me up and said, "Oh, look," he said, "I know you're short and I want to be able to help out, but I can only referee at 1 o'clock in Wellington City." I said, "Yep, I can accommodate that." So, it's not like you're playing rugby or playing a sport where you are dictated to about where and when you actually play. Well, you can control just about where you want to referee and when you want to referee.
Craig, the rules that they are, it's like reading a novel, isn't it? Tell us about you and your second year refereeing and understanding the laws of the game. And is it just sitting down reading the law book, or do you go through scenarios?
Obviously the law book is kind of the Bible. But particularly this year, the level 1 referees have done, I think, a really good job in encouraging kind of scenario settings that you are actually encouraged to think about and then contribute to. So it's not just a case of reading the law book and reciting and regurgitating what law 9.1.5 is, but it's actually kind of considering it, because no 2 referees will be the same. It's very well. We'll always make mistakes. We'll be the first to admit it. But it's a mixture of both sitting down and reading the law book, doing your law exam, but then getting those experiences from the more experienced referees. That's super helpful. As I say, the Prem game that I AR'd, it's just good to have Zahn Johnson in your ear, telling you, talking and explaining things. It's a very useful skill to see in action.
Well, Ben Van Berkel, we talked about management and taking that into your general life. How does that operate in your job working at New Zealand Rugby? Do you take elements of your refereeing and your management into your job?
Yeah, I'm the participation analyst at New Zealand Rugby, so I track all the refereeing, playing, coaching, admin numbers around the country. And as Malcolm and Mark particularly have already touched on, refereeing teaches some really good life skills, particularly around, say, time and space, prioritisation, and also being vulnerable. It's not, as Craig just touched on, you're always going to get decisions wrong. There is no such thing as a perfect refereeing game, and it's accepting those decisions. And it's the same in a workplace. You're never going to get everything right. And sometimes when you fail, like the fail just stands for first attempt in learning. And that's where, for me at work, I've got to use the numbers and work out exactly where we need to help the teams or the participation team, the game development team around where are our weak spots and where do we actually need to reinforce our participation around the country. And it's similar at refereeing in terms of, your own weak spots and what you're good at, and you can work to those aspects and try and improve accordingly.
Malcolm Gibbs, if there's a law that you want to change in rugby, what would it be?
Probably the more recent one from the I think it's domestic safety law variation, which is the scrum resets. So if the ball goes in, scrum starts, and it doesn't finish, and there's no infringement, then it goes to a uncontested or a free kick option. That's probably one I'd probably see a domestic safety law variation drop, especially at the senior level.
And Mark Fairmaid, we lost a real long life member of the Wellington Rugby Referees Association. He wrote this book here, The 31st Man, about the Referees Association. Brian Kumar is an example of loyal volunteer service who passed away at the start of this year. The family and also mateship are key parts of camaraderie in the Referees Association.
Yeah, it is. And it's appropriate to bring that up as well, because it's National Volunteer Week as well this week. So, and Brian, he was a ex armed forces man and bit of a sergeant, but he's a much loved member of our association, and and he was also a massive supporter of new referees, and I wouldn't mind betting that most of these guys had some interaction with Brian, apart from maybe Craig, because he hasn't been very well for the last 2 or 3 years. But and to write a history of this, of the association called the 31st Man, it's a fantastic effort and great to have. It's one of the sure things about life is we all end up dying at some stage, but it's always a sad occasion, and it loses someone as great as Brian is. It was huge.
Written above you all is the website, wra.org.nz/sign up. We definitely do need referees. That's why we've got this show on tonight. And if there's one thing from each of 4 of you tonight that you would highly recommend to someone that might be interested in refereeing, what would you say to them?
Ben?
Simply just give it a go. What have you got to lose? There's all these sorts of reasons why you can't do something, but sometimes it's just one reason or one decision why you can do something, and it can have lifelong benefits. So simply give it a go. We've got great support networks in place, and we can wrap our arms around you and teach you everything you need to know. So give it a go.
Craig?
Just go to the link, send an email, and David Walsh or Mark will probably email you within an hour saying we need the numbers, come along, and we'll show you, we'll teach you exactly what you need to do. Yeah, just get involved, as Ben said.
And Malcolm, what would you recommend to someone who might be interested in refereeing?
Yeah, if my message is, if you're hesitant because you think you're just going to be dumped in the deep end in your first year, that's definitely not the case. I was pleasantly surprised. Well, my expectations were blown away in terms of the support network that's put around you in that first year. Don't expect to be just given a whistle and kicked out onto a field. No, the support network and the learning opportunities are huge.
Yeah, I mean, Brad, those 3 guys have all touched it, and we will encourage you, we will support you, and as Ben said, what have you got to lose? And look, I'll be brutally honest, it's not for everyone, and obviously everyone that comes through the door doesn't become a long time referee, but without you actually trying and coming and having a look, I mean, if you go to that link and sign up, it doesn't mean to say you'll be out refereeing next weekend. Come and have a look. Come and wander around. Come and talk to some people. Come out to the Tony Wickerman's Club on a Monday night at 7 o'clock and say hi. And just have a look for yourself and see if yes, it might be what you want to do. I encourage it. if you go to that link and sign up, I'll respond quicker than an hour probably, to be honest, right now. So, and I'll ring you personally to welcome you aboard and have a chat with you around what you want to do and what you want to achieve. I tell this story actually a wee bit around a guy that came to me about 10 years ago and said he just wanted to improve his game so he could referee the presidents and the reserve graders in the afternoon at Huddy Hui domain. And that guy, Scott, ended up refereeing nearly 50 Premier games.
Scott Kennedy, from memory, was that right, Mark?
That'd be right, Brad.
That'd
and
right.
He was actually a bit of an exception because he did referee his first Premier game at the end of his third year, I think. So, and I'll be brutally honest, that's not a normal path. But Ryan McLean's another one that's come out of Parramatta Plymouton, and he refereed his first Premier game at the end of his third year too, I think. And there's a Stephen Cross's, Stephen Cross from Avalon who's played over 200 Premier games for Avalon, and now is taken up the whistle, and he loves it. And and he also comes, he's a policeman, so he's got that good management as well. But he's loving it, and what he offers to our association in terms of building people and developing people is massive. But just what he puts on the field and the way he understands the game is huge. So, but same breath, we need guys like Craig and like Malcolm, who come from many different walks of life, come from many different backgrounds. I'm happy to talk to anyone, and I challenge anyone out there that has any doubt or wants to think about it at all, wants to talk to someone, to go to that link and sign up, and I'll ring you.
What are the other ways to sign up to referee, Mark? Do the referees have a TikTok?
We're pretty. No, we don't have TikTok actually. I have thought about it. We're pretty active on social media and Facebook and Instagram. You can Facebook page, Instagram. We're on Instagram. We have a pretty active communication committee. Ben's part of that as well. And we try and plan and things around making sure that we are getting reasonable coverage. And we're obviously out there and pushing positively the story about refereeing, which most of it is. And we interact with clubs, we interact with club rugby. Obviously, I was commentating on Saturday, and that all helps. So I mean, here we are here tonight, thanks to you, Brad, and the Huddy Hui for inviting us along and giving us an opportunity to spread the word once more. But at the end of the day, it's a pretty easy word to spread, in my opinion.
Well, Mark, Malcolm, Ben, and Craig, many thanks for coming on the Huddy Hui tonight. All the best for your games this coming weekend, and let us hope that this Hui might be able to encourage more people to join the ranks of refereeing in Wellington.
Thanks, Brad.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that's not only just our other Huddy Hui this week. Join us again tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. We have Cam Burgess on the show. He played first five for St. Pat's Town last year, and he's also playing for the Dunedin Sharks and Dunedin Club Rugby, where there are quite a few other Wellington boys in that side. And he's going to be joining me in commentary this weekend, Scots versus St. Pat's Town on Sideline.live. So tune in to the Huddy Hui tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Also on Sideline.live tomorrow is the traditional between Rongotai College and Wellington College. Kickoff in that game is 1:30 p.m. and the coverage will start at 1:25. Well, that is the Huddy Hui for tonight. Many thanks to the Referees Association. It's a great opportunity to learn some management skills. So sign up and give it a go. I'm Brad